gorgeous.
Oh, lovely.
It's so nice to have you on set. The
It's my
first
pleasure.
set. Thank you for coming. At the last minute, we'll talk about that in a minute. But so you're here, my very first guest on the Sistering podcast in collaboration with my friend Jennifer. Hey, Jen. Where we're trying to create a strengthening space for conversation and ideas and thoughts and love and friendship. So, of course, who else?
I think it's fitting that I'm your first
It's
guest.
fitting. You know what? You were the first person I met in Lowell, Mass, when I moved here from Las Vegas.
Yes.
Like the first person, and I was like, whoa, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
So that was 20 years ago?
At least. Yeah, probably 20.
At least.
Yeah.
And fitting that we're here talking about aging and aging gracefully after 20 years, because we were both just old enough to be in our prime and just young enough to not know it.
Not even know it.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
But before we go into that topic, I just want to express some gratitude, seriously, for
Don't
you.
make me cry on camera,
No,
please.
no, for you and the journey that we've had together as friends and as colleagues. We worked together at Life Alive, which is an amazing experience, and both downtown Lowell residents.
Yeah.
Go Lowell. And I think both people who are very connected and supported to their friends and want to give to the community and value our place kind of in our spiritual world, and kind of, to me, you're the full package: smart, beautiful, grounded,
Thank you.
crazy.
Means a lot to me. Thank you. Crazy. Glad you snuck that in.
Yeah, so Jennifer and I were just chatting about something that would make us get to know the people we're speaking to in a really interesting way, because it's kind of private, but not private that you wouldn't share it, hopefully. So I'm going to ask you to tell me what your morning routine is.
Okay. On a good day, right?
No.
So I have been making a conscious, this might be kind of redundant, but just to be mindful of my thoughts when I first wake up, because a lot of time I'm not sunshine and roses in the morning.
No.
I really am not. So waking up in the morning, I can be like just not happy about being awake. You know, I'd like to be sleeping. So recognizing that, I make a conscious effort to be mindful of the thoughts that come into my mind upon waking, and to set to be grateful, even if it's just for like my cozy blanket or my amazing cats that are like sleeping beside me, or waking me up because they want to be fed. So just even if it's just one, I try to do obviously more than one thing, or to be grateful for more than one thing, but if it's just one thing, then I'm happy. So I do that, and try to do that before my feet hit the floor. So I'm grateful for my home, the roof over my head, my pets, like whatever it may be in that moment or that day. And then I typically start out with a cup of Barry's Irish tea, because I'm very particular about my tea. And then
About everything.
Yeah, I need my Barry's tea, and it steeps for 3 minutes, no more. Anyway, and
Do you set an egg timer?
I set my oven timer. Yes, I do. I mean, if you know Irish people, they're just really particular about their tea. So, but usually I try to start the day out with, besides gratitude, comedy, because, you know, especially this time of year, I struggle. I have been
In New England?
Yeah,
you
I've
know,
had
with the
seasonal
weather.
affective disorder. So I'm conscious of that. So I typically put on something that's going to make me laugh. And it's not that I don't have a TV, so I put it on my computer, and, you know, I'll be doing the dishes or what have you, or maybe I'll be just sitting there eating some like delicious buttered toast and drinking my tea. But yeah, typically try to start.
You sound British, not Irish.
I-
You sound like my mom.
There goes Barry's tea and Kerrygold Irish butter on my whole grain toast. So,
funny.
but yeah, I typically try to start the day, and if it's not comedy, it's definitely music.
All right.
Yeah. So
That sounds like a perfect way to start the day.
it's important.
So the gratitude, I think the gratitude thing is so important.
Yeah,
And
it's not easy, but it's really
and it's
important.
not. And we learn that. I wish I had known that when I was 16, 14, 12, 9.
Anytime.
Anytime. Because I do that now, the gratitude thing. But I feel like it's been, like I've had to hammer it in. So
There's days I don't wake up grateful. I wake up really cranky.
yeah. Well, now I have forced myself, probably it's taken me 5 years, to have the first thought be, I say thank you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I'm screaming it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you!
Still gratitude.
But it's still gratitude.
Yeah.
And that's really changed my life in an interesting way. So I hope that the young ladies who might watch this adopt this earlier.
Yeah,
I think it's easier.
yeah, definitely.
So you look beautiful.
Thank you.
I know we talk about this a lot. We are beautiful women, but we still think about days gone by. The natural changing body, which I think there's some science that says we can change less quickly. We can age. The representation of our age can happen more slowly with certain things. You know, science, it's always changing. But
Yeah.
but you look beautiful, but we talk about this all the time.
It's because you love me.
That's why I talk about it all the time.
No, I think when you love another person, you see their beauty more clearly.
Oh, you
Didn't
think?
mean to interrupt.
I think the people who love you see your beauty more similarly as everyone else.
Really?
That's what I think. Yeah, I think the way I see you is the same way most people see you.
Well, that's fantastic.
And you see yourself differently.
yeah,
I think that's
can agree
true
with
for
that.
all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that the people who love you are reflecting the way you actually present yourself in the world.
That's a great way to think about things. I'll have to remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're like the mirror that is behind the mirror the cloudy mirror that you've put in front of us. Because I would say that how I think of you is probably the most accurate
Really?
you in the well, that's the way I like to think of
See, I always felt like my friends like see me through like
rose-colored glasses.
or like the fuzzy lens of like the old movies where you get that close up and it's just like fuzzy because your beauty isn't just your physical, it's how you think and how you feel and what you mean to that person. So I guess
That's funny.
I always thought that my friends love me because they know me better than anybody else does.
But I would think knowing someone better makes you see them less clearly.
Warts and all.
Yeah, warts and all, which would make them diminished in your eyes. But
This is why I love talking to you.
I know. Oh, anyway. So, I wanted to talk about this topic because I think it's really important for I personally know young women who are getting Botox in their mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so that tells me that this question of aging gracefully, which is what we're talking about, actually doesn't start where I think with my mom's generation, she was thinking about that in her 50s.
Right.
And I think now we're thinking about that. I mean, my daughter who's 14 is probably as familiar with all of the options of plastic surgery and makeup and contouring and all this stuff to keep it. And she goes online now and she does this like special customized order for her skin care. She's 14.
Yeah.
And she gets a special package with her name on it.
Yep.
Yeah, so she's at 14 thinking about this, where my mother, who I think taught me great practices and she really cared for herself, but that was an elderly thing to start thinking about. So
Yep.
it's complicated. So I wanted to talk to you as my most beautiful middle-aged friend.
Middle-aged.
Just about your thoughts. I think about aging gracefully as it pertains to business. I think about aging gracefully as it pertains to the the spiritual practice, the road of the spiritual, the journey of the spiritual practice that we're on, aging gracefully in the terms of staying relevant in your community. So
Where do you want to start?
Anywhere. What do you think? What do you think?
I'm gonna have to pause here. That's a lot to cover.
Well, let's talk about spirituality.
Okay.
Because you, I think, have a really strong foundation of knowledge and connectedness to your spiritual core, and you're invested in this journey for yourself.
Yeah.
And yet you also really care about being beautiful and being sexy and being sensual.
Yeah.
So what, do you find tension there ever?
I think to me, being spiritual is embracing being sensual. So that is not something I necessarily give great thought to, because I feel like it just is. I'm a sensual person because I'm a spiritual person. As far as, you're gonna have to give me a little.
Wait, so don't go away from that.
Okay.
Because I don't want to bash religion, because I think that it's really great for a lot of people.
It's very important.
It's very important.
And I respect all religions.
And I do. And my parents were both ministers, and so I was raised as a preacher's kid.
But when you're talking about sensuality, when you're talking about organized religions, that we're on a dangerous precipice.
Well, I know, but that's why I say I don't want to bash religion. So, but what I do want to say is for me, religion, or what we might be translating into spirituality these days, and sensuality were really like disconnected, or not in opposition.
Right.
For some people, not for everybody. And I know there's a lot of beautiful religions. So I knew the Jewish faith, which my father started off as, that those are actually very much entwined.
Yeah.
Which is great. And there's probably lots of other religions where that's true. But not in my upbringing. They were very much disconnected. So I grew up thinking that you're either one or the other. And that's why I asked the question. You're either, there's two roads, and it's the road of religion / spirituality, the carnal road of sensuality.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a lot of time to think about that, but now I'm studying the idea of divine sensuality or divine sexuality, which I find really interesting. Yeah. So anyway, feel free to.
Well, my mother was raised very strict Catholic, but chose not to raise me that way. Actually, the opposite. So in my household growing up, there was very little. Those two things were one, like being sensual, being vulnerable, being, I don't know if this is appropriate, being naked. I mean, there was just an openness about my mother that she instilled in me, along with believing in, if you want to call it spirituality or powers that are greater than you. So that's just always, those two things just go hand in hand. I've never really thought of them as being separate.
So has any of that changed as you've aged, and in particular aging gracefully in your body? Well,
I'm more empowered to be, I don't love the word sensual, but
I do. I love that word.
I'm very comfortable with being open and loving, if that's what you want to call sensual. There's connotations for, I think some people would hear that word and it would trigger like different feelings for them. But being open and being loving is what I consider to be sensual. And so that to me is just a natural part of being a spiritual person. Being open, loving, accepting, affectionate. Yeah. You
are all of those things.
I am.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
gladly so too.
Well, but don't you imagine? Is this just me? I imagine spiritual leaders as elderly women with beautiful, long, curly, wavy silver hair, no makeup, with a yoga mat.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're, that's kind of what's put out there.
Yeah. Is it realistic to say I want to be a spiritual leader, but I also want to wear my false eyelashes and get my Botox, and here we go. Right? So this is what I'm curious what people think about this, and if it matters.
I'm still working through that personally myself, because I really want to like what I see in the mirror. I don't want to say I don't care about what other people see, because that would be a lie.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a person.
We're lying on this show.
I'm a person. And I mean, it's just a minuscule part. It's like when I look in the mirror, what do I see? Do I like what I see?
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't. And then I think to myself, are you being like, why don't you like it? Like, what is wrong with having, these are called 11s. Like, what's wrong with having 11s?
You need 2. 4.
What's wrong with,
the smile line?
Yeah,
the crow's feet,
it's funny because I don't love this, but I love my laugh lines. I love them. So I struggle with that. And that's just something one day I'm fine. I'm like, what? I almost, sorry, I swear sometimes. Yeah, some days I'm just like, why does it matter? It doesn't matter. And then other days I think, but I could make that go away, and I could be happy with what I see. Yeah. And then, now there's the rabbit hole. So I'm going to let you.
No. So that's good, because I wonder that for me, regarding that particular part of my life, not the work life, is where I find myself in a little bit of a mental dichotomy. Is that should I be embracing the part of me that says I want to look beautiful and that's important to me, and I will invest the time and energy and money to do that? Or do I embrace the part of me that says I want to be zen and accept all that comes to me and be grateful for it, including all of the things? So we don't have to have an answer today, but I do think about that, and I'm curious how you and myself and other people think about it and maybe find peace with it, whichever direction.
I think the struggle is that a lot of people would agree with aging is that at some point you kind of time out. Like, maybe let's just say I feel 26. I've felt 26 since I was 26.
Well, that's the crazy thing about aging, is you feel 26,
right,
even when you don't look 26.
And so people look at me and they see, this natural process of aging, and they automatically make not a decision, but they put me into a place. They're like, oh,
right.
she's
middle-aged, right, beautiful middle-aged
whatever.
woman.
So, that's another part of the struggle. The mental process is that, like, I would like to represent how I feel. But is that necessary? Then this is me. Like, I'm a Pisces, so I'm all over the place. I'm just
right.
Like,
but maybe you represent how you feel in other ways.
Yeah.
So one of the beautiful things about aging, hopefully, if you've done your work, is there's less guilt.
Yeah,
right.
There's little to no guilt
right.
in my life.
But when you're younger, right? So there's hopefully less guilt. There's hopefully more clarity of what you want, who you are.
I don't sweat the
your
small stuff.
So maybe we can age gracefully. Maybe we can still really care about how we look, and take advantage of all of the good science and technology that's out there, but show our aging and our wisdom gracefully by being joyful, because we've learned to give away the guilt and the judgment, and hopefully our own critical voice is quieter and we have less anxiety. Maybe that's the gift of aging. I guess I'm trying to understand, what does aging gracefully mean?
I think so. I feel like we are in where we're at in our age group in life.
How old are you?
I'm 48. And I feel like
you look great.
Thank you. Part of what makes me attractive is that I have just there's a less burden. Like, I think part of it's less about this and this than it is that I'm just like, I'm chill, man.
Yeah.
I'm not wound up. That sounded so
Where's your
chill, man.
surfboard?
I know. I wish I was on a surfboard
Me
right now.
too.
But I'm just
That brought up something really, really
just
important for me.
easier. Like I'm not articulating well right now, which is very frustrating for me. But I just don't really worry. I'm not wound up. I'm just like, okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna do this. We're gonna go here. I don't get like. I'm just very much more relaxed.
You are.
And that is, that's a gift. And I think that's a different type of beauty.
So maybe aging gracefully is understanding our role in the world and then sharing the wisdom behind us to the women who aren't quite there yet. And I'd be happy to think that one of those gifts that we give is showing them the model or example, younger women, the model of an example of allowing yourself to go with the flow and be chill.
Not to be caught up.
And not to be caught up in it. And not meaning letting go. I guess that's the struggle for me, is not doing nothing to support the aging process. Looks like letting go, right?
Yeah.
But doing too much, there's a particular party I went to.
Not needing to try too hard.
Well, is holding on.
Yeah.
So maybe aging gracefully is living in that space somewhere between letting go and holding on too tight.
Yeah.
So I think we're there.
Yeah. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy too. And you're beautiful.
Thank
I really appreciate you coming on here, and I hope that we can talk again about another super cool topic. I gave the long list of things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So do you have any last things you want to say?
No.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you so much for joining us on Sistering, a strengthening space where we're coming together to support each other, strengthen each other through conversation, ideas, and hopefully laughs and some wine too. Please comment on what you think it means to age gracefully. We really are interested in growing this conversation and building a community around this idea of sistering, supporting each other, and creating a strengthening space. Thank you. I'm Franky Descoteaux, and we'll see you next time.